Hello, this is Federico. I'm the lead developer at Mutables, and today I will be demoing what we have been building so far in Mutables and what you can actually do at the moment with it. So let's start. Okay, so Mutables initially started based off synthetic contracts, but then we started modifying these contracts so as to fulfill the requirements of what we are building at Mutables. So even though we share some things with synthetics, of course, we are a completely different protocol. So we started with a fork, then we removed all the unnecessary contracts like the binary options, legacy, bridge contracts, etc. And then we started decoupling the SNX token from its use as a collateral and as a reward. And so we assigned ESD. So we are using Mutables uses ESD as the collateral token, and MNT, that is the Mutables network token, as the reward token. And finally, we have added the Mutables powered swaps that are based off the curve cross asset swaps model, and that we will see later on. So on this demo, I will be walking you through what we have built so far and what you can do right now. So I will be first showing you how you can mint mutables like MUUSD, MUBTC, or etc. Then how you can trade them and how you can burn the mutables. And finally, I will be showing you how you can do one mutable powered swap using Curve meta pools. Well, how I'm gonna show you this? I'm using a fork from mainnet using hard hat. So this includes, of course, the Curve protocol that we will need for the mutables powered swaps. Then I have deployed all the mutables contracts that are built in Solidity, and then I have also deployed all the contracts related to the mutables powered swaps, that as they are based off the cross asset swaps from Curve, they are written in Viper. And I will be showing you all these through our React-based UI. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna show you first, this is the command line. So as you can see here, we have the fork from mainnet using hard hat that is running here. And then here you can see, well, all the contracts that have been deployed as part of the Mutables protocol. You can see all the names of this is the table that's just showing all the addresses of the deployed contracts. And then here I have run a script that I built that is preparing everything to be able to do the Mutables powered swaps that I will talk about this on the following slides. But basically I'm deploying the Curve meta pools that we need in order to use this, and I'm adding liquidity to those pools and also deploying the Mutables P swap contract. So, and then last here I have it's the React UI that is running. And yeah, let's go to the UI to see how everything can be done here. So this is our UI. It's a React-based app, and well, this is the first screen. So we will start by choosing MetaMask as the wallet. Here is my wallet. As you can see, we're connected to our fork from mainnet, this localhost, and I have already approved the necessary contracts to work with these mutables. So let's start by doing a mint of MUUSD by locking ESD. So we go here, and here we can choose to either select an amount or do the max. So this means that we will be, for instance, we will be minting this amount of MUUSD that is based on our current ESD balance. And so let's try this. We will be staking 100,000 ESD. That is our total ESD balance, and there it is. So here we can see that the transaction is pending. Now it has been confirmed, and yeah, that was it. And if I refresh here, you will see that our MUUSD balance has changed. If we go to the command line, we can also see the transaction here. So this is the transaction we've just submitted. Okay, let's now try to trade this MUUSD. All we have to do is to go to the trade section. We can choose here which assets we want to trade. So let's pick, let's do MUUSD, that is the one we have just minted, to MUBTC, for instance. We can also click max or choose right like the amount we want. This will give us 1.9 mutable bitcoins. We will confirm the transaction, and there it is. we have the trade that is in progress, and well, it's still pending. Okay, there it is confirmed, and if we refresh here now, we can see that we no longer have any MUUSD, but we can see that our current collateralization ratios is still the same, and our debt has not changed. So something I forgot to show you is that here we have our locked ESD. So we can see that we have 100,000 ESD that are locked into the Mutables protocol. And finally, let's see how we can unlock this ESD. For that we will first need to trade this MUBTC back to MUUSD, and then we can burn MUUSD. Later on, we will try to make this easier so you can actually burn directly from your mutables like MUBTC. Right now you can only burn MUUSD. So let's go back to trade. Let's choose MUBTC, and let's choose MUUSD. Okay, let's trade, and we confirm this. The transaction is in progress. We can see it here that this is still pending. Okay, there it is. And now if I refresh again here, we have the MUUSD back. So we have less than the original amount that we used to have for MUUSD, because we have some trading fees that have been taken out from us. Okay, and now we can actually go and try burning this. We will burn. And there it is. Let's see the transaction. Okay, it's still pending. Okay, confirmed. So if I refresh now, we can see that we have now much less amount locked. This is because our debt has increased and we didn't have enough MUUSD so as to unlock everything. So I'm gonna talk now about the Mutables powered swaps. So this utilizes the same idea as the cross-asset swaps. So cross-asset swaps basically allow you, this is taken from Curve, they partner with Synthetics, and what they allow you to do is to trade two different assets, for instance DAI to RenBTC via Synthetics, and this provides, this is good because it gives you very low slippage and it's like almost frictionless. So we wanted to have this same idea here. So what we've done was forking the SynSwap contract from Curve, and we modified it to make it work with our Mutables protocol. We called this contract now Mutables PSwap. And well, basically a cross-asset swap or a mutable power swap consists of two parts and thus two transactions. But before going into this, let's introduce the concept of base pools and meta pools from Curve. So Curve base pools, there are two kind of pools that you can have on Curve. You have the base pools and the meta pools. The base pools are the normal or the standard Curve pools. For instance, the 3 pool is one of the most popular ones, which uses USDT, DAI and USDC. When you add liquidity, you get an LP token back, like the 3 CRV LP token. These pools can only be deployed by Curve, so you have to partner with them and do the due diligence and audits and all that, and then they will be deploying it for you. On the other side, they have released the concept of meta pools. They allow for one token to seemingly trade with another underlying base pool. So the good thing about this is that they are permissionless, so anyone can deploy them. You have to use the meta pool factory contract to do that. And for example, if we want to allow these mutables powered swaps, we will need to have 2 meta pools, and one of those pools could be the MUUSD, that is our mutable asset, with the base pool that we will be using, the base pool of Curve, that is the 3 pool. So this way we can do trades, for instance, from MUUSD to DAI or MUUSD to USDC and the other way around, and so on. Some downside of these of the meta pools is that they can only use the 3 pool or the 3 BTC pool as base pools. Let's take an example now. Let's say that we want to swap DAI to RenBTC. So as I told you before, the immutable power swap consists of two transactions. The first transaction has at the same time two steps. The first step is that we will need to swap DAI into its swappable mutable. The swappable mutable is MUUSD. A swappable mutable is basically which is the mutable asset that you can swap another asset for. So in the case of DAI, MUUSD is our swappable mutable. In the case of USDC, USDC the same, and USDT the same. So this is the first step of the first transaction. We do this via Curve. This is why we needed to deploy a Curve metapool. Then we will convert this MUUSD into RenBTC's swappable mutable, which is MUBTC. And we do this via mutables with the benefits of what the protocol gives you, that is like low slippage, for instance. And then finally we do the second transaction, that is swapping MUBTC into RenBTC, again via Curve and via a Curve metapool. In this case, the metapool has the asset is MUBTC, and the base pool is the 3BTC pool, which consists of SBTC, RenBTC, and WBTC. But why we cannot use directly Curve synth swaps the way they are? Well, there's some problems in it that the synth swap contract has some limitations. By design, this contract was conceived and it's coupled with synthetics, of course, because they have partnered and they released this feature. So there's somehow hard-coded addresses on the contract that direct you to the synthetics contract. And then something important is that they require the pools that the cross-asset swaps work with to be in the Curve pool registry. And and only Curve admins can add metapools to the registry. So even though you can say, well, I'm going to work with a metapool, which I can deploy it myself because they are permissionless, these synth swap contracts requires those pools to be in the Curve registry so as to be able to work. So, well, what was the solution to this? Basically using our own synth swap contract, that we call it Mutables pswap, and then we remove these Curve registry dependencies from this contract, and that's it. So at this point, maybe you're wondering what the Curve registry do. Okay, the Curve registry is comprised of the following contracts, among others. The registry, the pool info, and the swap contract. So basically, these are contracts that help you to find or query information about the pools that are on Curve. Or for instance, taking the example of the swaps contract, they allow you to find the best rate across different pools, for instance. So you can see a lot of times that when you want to do an exchange on Curve, you are not directly calling the exchange function of the pool contract itself or the meta pool contract itself, but you are doing it to the Curve registry, one of these Curve registry contracts, and the Curve registry contract is then calling directly the pool contract. Okay, let's see now one example of a Curve registry dependency that we can see on the synth swap contract. So there's a function that is called addSynth that we have renamed it to addMutable, that it is used to allow a new asset to be able to work with these mutables powered swaps or the cross asset swaps. So basically what this function does is it receives the mutable asset address and the metapool address, and then it calls the Curve registry to get or to know like which are the coins of this metapool, and then it goes and for each one of these assets inside the pool, it links which is the swappable mutable. So if we want, for instance, we want to allow to have DAI into the mutables powered swaps, we will have to call this function and saying and passing in the parameters the MUUSD address and the metapool that we have deployed, which has MUUSD and the 3 pool tokens. So, but the problem here is that you have, in order for the step 1 to work, this metapool needs to be on the Curve registry, and this is something that only Curve admins can do. And as we wanted to avoid this idea of having to partner with Curve and do all the due diligence, now the easiest way was to work with the metapools and removing these registry dependencies. So how do we achieve this? Well, first you have to identify the necessary data that these core registry contracts store and that the synth swap uses, and well, you have basically to take that data and include it or somehow be able to store it on the Mutables power swap contracts, and then and that's how you can then remove the registry dependencies, because now you're not gonna call the core registry functions but directly the pool contract itself. So let's see how it works on a bit more on these drawings that we have here. So as you can remember, we want to do DAI to REN BTC, and that's a mutable power swap that consists of 2 transactions, and the first transaction is 2 steps. So as you can see here, the first step, the user is calling this function, the swap into synth, on the mutable powered swap contract, and then the mutable powered swap contract before removing the registry dependency, it was gonna be calling here in the step 2 to the core registry contract, and then it is the core registry contract that calls the exchange function of the Curve metapool. Basically, we've done the modifications on the smart contract, and as you can see, those are like the dependencies that we need to remove, and we need that the mutable p swap could call directly the exchange function of the Curve metapool, and that's what we did, and that's how we removed the dependency. And then the same thing happens on the second transaction, because the mutable p swap contract, well, actually it's the settler, but I'm not going to get into that. It's just another contract that belongs to the mutable p swap, but they are calling the Curve registry swap, and the Curve registry swap is the one that is finally calling here on the last step to the Curve metapool. And well, we remove these dependencies as well, and we make it that it calls directly the Curve metapool. Okay, so let's now go back into the UI and see this in action. Okay, so to make a mutable powered swap, you would go to the trade again. You would choose here, instead of choosing a mutable asset, you will choose like a standard asset. Let's do DAI, as in the example, let's do DAI into REN BTC. Here it is. As you can see now, the button has changed to mutable powered swap. And let's say that we want to exchange, I don't know, like 10,000 DAI into REN BTC. Well, this will give us 0.22 REN BTC, and let's start it. Okay. Well, as you can see, I have made the first transaction. Remember that there are 2 transactions involved in these kind of swaps, and while we are trading 10,000 DAI, we will be receiving 0.23 approx. And these 2 boxes are because the way these mutable power swaps work is that after the first transaction is done, you will receive a token ID belonging to an NFT. So that's the token ID, and then you can check information by calling the contract and getting the token information given this ID number. And the time to settle is because when you trade one mutable to another one, there's a waiting period that is necessary to avoid issues when sometimes the rates of the different assets get stale because of maybe some problem with the oracles or something like that. So in our case, for the sake of this demo, we have set the waiting period just to 0. Otherwise, it would have been 3 minutes more or less, but now it's 0. Okay, and now once this transaction is done, we can go and do the second transaction, that we call it the settled transaction, to actually finish this swap. Okay, let's confirm. Okay, and now it should have finished. Let's wait to see this confirmed. Okay, there it is. And if you see now, we used to have 30,000 DAI, and now we have 20. And if I refresh, now I have the 0.23 Ren BTC. So, well, that was the mutable powered swap. Okay, and that was it. I hope you have enjoyed this demo. If you have any questions, you can contact us on the Mutables channel on the empty set dollar Discord, and we will be happy to answer any question. Thank you very much.